Hello, I'm the Phoenix King. Um, as you've probably seen by the title of this video by now, I'm talking about the most recent season of Survivor, Survivor Caramoan. Ordinarily, I wouldn't do this sort of thing, but since Survivor is one of my favorite game shows, as you all should know, and I have a lot to say about this most recent season, so I decided to do this. Um, keep in mind that I will be spoiling some of the things in the season, but I'm sure if you actually care about Survivor that you've already seen it, so no such worries there. Um, so yeah, Survivor Caramoan. Fans versus Favorites 2 is the subtitle. For those of you who don't remember, a few years back, Survivor did Fans versus Favorites 1. They brought back a tribe consisting of old returning players, players that had played Survivor before, and pitted them against a tribe of new players, players that had never played Survivor before. It was kind of fun. It was cool to see all the old faces back, and it got good ratings, so naturally they continued it. They kept bringing back old players in each, well, not every season, but almost every new season of Survivor since then, which is good and bad. I mean, on the one hand, it is nice to see the old faces again, but am I the only one who's getting tired of seeing the returning players every season? I mean, there's nothing particularly wrong with it, but when returning players return, they command attention. They're basically the whole point of them being there is to command attention and get ratings for the show. And especially in this most recent one, Survivor Caramoan, I mean, sometimes it's just been like maybe two returning players. But this time, with Fans versus Favorites 2, it was a whole team of returning players versus a whole team of new players. I mean, when there's just two, it's one thing, but when you've got eight of them, or however many there are at the start, I think it's eight, that commands a lot of attention. And the new players hardly even get a chance to play because all the attention's being focused on the old players. I like seeing their faces again. I like seeing what different strategies they use, but give the new guys a chance. All right. All right, that rant's over with. Another thing that I wanted to talk about with this season, well, actually, there are several things, but it's fresh in my mind right now because I'm recording this the day after the finale, so it's fresh in my mind right now. I'm going to talk about Cochran. Not necessarily about Cochran, but I'm going to talk about the winner, who was Cochran, obviously, but I think even a big fan of the game like me, it's easy to see that Survivor is gradually deteriorating. And not necessarily in quality, but I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it's getting gradually less interesting. It's getting less about outwit, outplay, outlast. And the most evident part of that was with Cochran winning. I'm happy for Cochran. I'm sure he's thrilled, even though he didn't even crack a smile when he won $1 million. Like, I don't care how good you think your odds were. You crack a smile, at least a smile, when you won $1 million. Cochran. I'm sorry, that ticked me a bit. I'm sorry, that ticked me off a little bit. But basically, what I'm saying is, uh, with the trend in who ends up winning these seasons, it's gradually getting worse. Uh, I I don't know how to describe it, but like, okay, like I forget which season this was, but there was a guy named Chris. Yeah, I remember it because he has my name. But There was a guy named Chris. He played ruthlessly. He made alliances with people and broke them the next day if he needed to. This was a while back, one of the first seasons I watched. I haven't watched every season. I'm not that old. I mean, I would have had to start watching when I was 4. But it was one of the first seasons I remember. This guy's name was Chris. He played ruthlessly. He made alliances, he broke alliances, he played all sides of the spectrum. And guess what? He won with a unanimous vote because he played the game well. Versus look at these newer seasons with Cochran won because he was part of a majority alliance and stuck with it. Or other seasons in the past where it was just some person who happened to get aligned with the right person didn't do a thing and ended up winning because they didn't tick anybody off. Russell Hantz is a prime example of this. First time Russell Hantz played, he should have won. Second time Russell Hantz played, he should have won because he played the game. But both times he picked up some pretty girl early on. She got aligned with him. He took her to the end and she won because she didn't tick anybody off versus Russell who actually played a good game. And Cochran is just another casualty of that. I'm happy for him. I hope he enjoys his winnings. I hope he enjoys the fact that he gets to be the winner of Survivor after being such a super fan of it. But did he really deserve to win? Of the three that were at the end, sure, he had the most merits. But overall, did he deserve to win? I don't think so. No offense to you, Cochran, if you somehow run across this. But, I mean, you played an effective game. I'll give you that much. But there's a difference between an effective game and a good game. If you ask me, there are 3 people who deserve to win. The first one, ironically enough, was Philip. Oh yeah, I hated Philip. I despised every second he was on screen. But he created an alliance, and he kept it together for as long as he possibly could have. Had it not been for a bit of dumb luck with Malcolm finding 2 immunity idols, he probably would have gone to the end, and in that case, he'd have been the only one who did anything. He would have won. And he would have deserved to win because he formed that alliance, which ultimately prevailed. And the next person I think deserved to win was, again, ironically enough, Sherry. For those of you, Sherry, she was the only fan who made it into Stealth R Us. She knew she was at a disadvantage at the merge. She got into that alliance to get herself out of that disadvantage. None of the other fans broke through that alliance, and that's why she was at the end and the rest of them weren't. She didn't join Stealth R Us because she was weak. She joined Stealth R Us because she was smart. She knew she would be at a disadvantage. She knew that she most likely wasn't going to win any challenges. She knew that she had to get into the majority to survive, and she did. That was a good move on her part. I think she may have deserved to win. She may have deserved to win in that respect. And then the third person who deserved to win was Malcolm. Out of everybody, every single person that season, Malcolm was the only one who dared to go against Philip's alliance. He was the only one who dared to make a move to better his game and not Philip's. He was the only one who dared to take a risk in order to better himself. Sure, some people might see that as a stupid move because Stealth R Us had the majority. But he played his game the way he wanted to. He didn't. He played the game the way he wanted to. He played the game as if it was his own and not somebody else's. And for me, that deserves something. Another trend I'm seeing more recently in the more recent Survivor seasons that I'm having a bit of trouble coping with is that, like I mentioned earlier, it's focusing less and less and less on outwit, outplay, outlast. It's turning into outtrust now. I mean, think back to the more recent seasons. With this one in particular, with Stealth R Us. Aside from Malcolm, of course, they didn't even think to go against Stealth R Us. None of them even imagined it. Because they were in an alliance and they stuck with it to the end. Or at least until only Eddie was left. They didn't think, what if this doesn't work out? They didn't think, what if this isn't the best way to go forward? They just knew that they were in an alliance, and that was it. That was their only mindset. It's been evident in other seasons too. I can't think of a clear example at the moment, but it's gone away from outwit and outplay to outtrust. And that is a trend that is not good for Survivor. Loyalty's loyalty's a great thing, but it's not what makes Survivor interesting. It's breaking that loyalty that makes Survivor interesting. Sure, loyalty might get you far, and if this trend continues, it may be the only thing that may keep you, that may end up winning Survivor for you. But it's not interesting. Loyalty's a very good thing. I know that. But it's not part of Survivor. Making alliances, yeah, that's a key part of the game. But breaking them is just as important, both for maintaining interest and for maintaining options in your game. One ex okay, like when Corinne and Malcolm went to Dawn, they tried to pull her out of Stealth Arrest. They tried to get her to join their side. What does she do? She doesn't even think about it. She doesn't think to play both sides. She doesn't think maybe this is information that could help me in the future. She goes straight to Philip, tells him everything, and then there goes Malcolm, there goes Reynolds, and eventually there goes Eddie. Well, actually, Corinne went first. There goes Corinne, there goes Malcolm, there goes Reynolds, and eventually there goes Eddie. She didn't even consider keeping the information to herself, or playing both sides, or anything else that would have helped her game, made her considered a good player. All she did was stick to her alliance, which is good in its own right, but not in Survivor. I'm sorry, I'm sorry if this seems rather negative, but just some things that are really ticking me off because I love Survivor, I really do. But if these trends continue, it's not gonna be good anymore. It's it's like the way Big Brother went. You know, at first it was a pretty cool show, but then it went more and more in one direction to the point where it couldn't go back anymore. And now nobody has a clue what the hell's going on anymore with it. Nobody knows what's going on. Well, I'm sure some people do. But it's so different now. You wouldn't. It's so different now. If you showed that to someone who saw the original Big Brother and didn't tell them what it was, they would never guess it was Big Brother. And this same thing is happening to Survivor. I mean, what happened to the Rustle Hanses, to the Boston Robs, to the Chris's, whatever his last name was? I love Survivor. I'll defend it to the ends of the earth, but this needs to be said. It's not about outtrust. It's not about loyalty. It's not about alliances. It's not even about trusting others. It's getting others to trust you. That's important, not you trusting others. At the end of the day, though, it's still Survivor. I'm still gonna love it. It's gonna have cool challenges. It's still gonna have that great social game aspect to it. I just don't want to see it go down the tubes like Big Brother or other reality game shows. I know this isn't gonna change anything. I know that this rant is not going to reach the producers and convince them to change things because what's effective is not going to change. If someone wants to play the game with the whole trust thing and that works for them, they're gonna do it. I'm not expecting a change. I'm just hoping for one. Still, Survivor Caramoan, it's still a great season. It's just the same as every Survivor season. It's still great. It's still Survivor. I just. There were just some things I really needed to get off my chest. And I guess this rant did that, so. Yeah, I think I'm good now. If you've listened this long, thank you for doing that. Thank you for listening to my rant. I just really need. This really needed to be said. Um, Thank you for the reception of part one of Top 10 Classical RPGs. I'll get on part two as soon as possible. And, that's it. Peace out.